he is announcing that all the Jewish people are going to be sent away. Everybody is entitled to bring one bag or suitcase or whatever they have. Of course, we had no suitcases because we never traveled. So we sewed up some burlap bags for one per person because that's all we were entitled to bring. So the next day, we are told that we need to go to the farmer's market, which is the center of town, and they're going to take all the information. There was also a note saying anybody that has any valuables, money or jewelry, to bring it with them, and they're going to keep it for us and give it back to us when we come back. You know what BS means, right? So my father said to me and my two older sisters, by the way, I had two older sisters and an older brother, and three younger sisters and a younger brother. My father says to my two sisters and me, come with me. I put a few pieces of jewelry together. I want to hide it, and I want you to know where it is when you come back after the war. So my father already had an idea that maybe he knew what was going on. Me, I didn't have any idea what was going on in the world, okay? So we hid it in a corner between the ceiling and the wall. So I am wearing this chain on my neck. This was from my father's pocket watch. I wear this every day, 7 days a week, 12 months a year. The minute I get out of bed, this is the first thing that goes on my neck. This way I feel he's with me all the time, okay? So anyway, we go to the center of town where they told us to come, and they take our names, put us in oxen-driven wagons. They must have put in 30 or more people in each one. We were squeezed so tightly. I could have walked it faster. That's how slow this oxen wagon was going. So we get to Uzhhorod, and they put us at a train station. They put up some tents, big tents, and they put many people in each tent. And this is the end of April 1944. Little by little, they're shipping people away. And the reason they put us there, so we should be ready to be shipped away in the trains. So finally, it came our turn. We go on the train, and it's a cattle train. It's not a passenger train. No seats, no windows, just a slat. Maybe 4 inches by 12 inches on each side of the train. And so they squeezed in 70, 80 people in every train. You couldn't even move around. That's how horrible it was. We're going and going. People are passing out. People are dying. People are complaining. You have no imagination. The train it took 2.5 days to go from Uzhhorod to Poland, or Auschwitz, Poland, or Krakow, Poland. And the train did not stop once. There was no water in the train. There was no place where you could relieve yourself. So the train opens, and a man in a striped uniform comes on the train to help us with our luggage. And we are in Auschwitz, Poland. So this man came on the train, and he comes to me, he asks me how old I am. I said, I am 14 years old. He says, tell him you're 18. I had no idea what he was talking about, okay? And then he goes around to see other young kids that he could tell them to lie about their age. So we go up the train, walk for a couple of minutes, and then we are stopped 5 in a row, and there's 3 SS soldiers separating us. And I believe one of them was Mengele, okay? My mother and my 3 younger sisters and brothers went to a different line. My father and my brother goes to this line, and then he tells my 2 sisters to go to this line, and he says to me, how old are you? I said, I am 18. He let me go with my 2 sisters. Otherwise, I would have gone with my mother and my 3 sisters and brothers straight into the gas chamber. I never saw them again, okay? So a lot of people were saved this way too. They were told to lie about their age because they did not bring us there to have a good time. They brought us there for slave labor. So here we are waiting for further orders. Finally, they march us into our building, I should say. And it's a big room, and they told us to take our clothes off, put it on the side there, and then they shaved all our hair, not only the head, everywhere. So all our clothes that we came with and all the clothes that we brought with us, everything went to Germany for their families. Anyway, so I got a dress and no underwear, no nothing, no shoes, clogs, one dress and a pair of clogs, wooden clogs. And the dress was down to the floor. So after this is all done, they march us into our Auschwitz barracks, okay? There were 3 camps, A, B, and C. So there was a Czech camp, a Hungarian camp, and a Gypsy camp. So we were in the Hungarian camp. Anyway, so here we are, we go to sleep. We ended up on the top bunk. There must have been 10, 12 women in the top bunk. And we get up the next morning, and they're serving us coffee, black coffee for breakfast. Every 10, 12 people get a bucket of coffee. It tasted like black soot. That was our breakfast. So after this is done, I go outside. I told my sisters I want to see where we are and what's going on. I go outside and I see all these electric fences, 12-foot high electric fences. And I see people holding on to the fences because a lot of people didn't know this was electric. They would put their hands on there, 20 seconds later, they were dead. You see blood coming out of their nose and they were gone, okay? So especially a lot of the people that just came in the day before, like we didn't know it was electric. I mean, I'm just walking and looking, I'm not touching anything, okay? I see dead bodies around on the bottom of the electric fences, even bodies holding on because they held on so closely, didn't let go, even when they were dead because from the electricity. You have no imagination how horrible that looked. I mean, it's unbelievable to even to explain it, okay? And so I'm walking and I'm looking around to see where I am, and I see all kinds of people on the ground, on here or there. It's unexplainable how horrible that place looked at that time. So, while I'm walking, all of a sudden somebody calls my name. Rosie, Rosie, that was my Jewish name. It was my father. My father and my brother were selected to go to a factory to work, and they were there temporarily because this was an all-woman camp, okay? And my father, he had like a 2-inch beard, always wore a suit, a hat, and a tie, well-dressed. By the way, he was a tailor. He had a tailor shop in the middle of town. He was the best tailor in our town, by the way. My father says, Rosie, Rosie, don't you recognize me? Shaven, no beard, no glasses, no suit, no, in a striped uniform. You have to look twice. He said, don't you recognize my father? We hugged and we kissed, and the first thing he said, where is your mother? I said, I don't. And at that time, I really didn't know because this was the first morning we were there. I said, I'm here with my 2 older sisters, Helen and Judy, okay? And we were in Barrack 26. And my father told me he's here with my brother. They were already selected to go to a factory to work. They're going to be there just 2 days because this was an all-women's camp, okay? So we talked, and then my father said to me, he's giving me advice, and he's telling me, whatever you do, make sure you stay together because you have a much better chance of surviving, okay? So we hugged and we kissed, and we made up to meet the next morning. And I brought my 2 sisters with me, and my father brought my brother with him. And we were talking, and he repeated the same thing. Whatever you do, stay alive so you can tell the world what they're doing next. And then stay together because you have a much better chance of surviving. And we made up to meet the next morning, but they never showed up because they were there temporarily. They were shipped away. I never saw my father and my brother again, okay? Of course, I never saw my mother and 3 sisters and brothers either. So they left. And so here we are in Auschwitz-Birkenau. After being there 10, 12 days, I think we must have each lost 10, 15 pounds because the food's unbelievable. It's not edible. They come to our barrack. We have to line up 5 in a row. And they're selecting people to go to factories to work. So they don't select me because I'm skin and bone by that time, okay? So they select my 2 sisters to go to a factory to work, but me, they put in a different line. All the younger kids, the skin and bone people that are not eligible to go to a factory to work, they put them in a different line, and that line all goes to gas chambers, okay? So of course, when you're there, people tell you what you need to do. If they don't select you to go to a factory to work with all the adult people, try and get out of the line. Make sure nobody sees you, because if they catch you, they're going to shoot you on the spot. So we went out for 3, 4 times to get selected to work. Each time they would put me in the gas chamber line. So after going through selections 3, 4 times, we decided not to go because, as I said, there's 1,000 women in the barrack. So you're not forced to go out to get selected. We decided just to hope that the war would end and we would be liberated. Okay, so this must probably be in May of 1944. I was very sick. After being there probably a couple of weeks, I couldn't even stand on my feet. And then after being in Auschwitz-Birkenau for 4 months, they came to our barrack. They needed 300 women to go to Freudenthal in the Sudeten in Germany. So I said to my sisters, go out front and keep a place in line for me, and I'll see how I can steal myself out of this barrack. So the barrack has a door in the front and a door in the back, okay? So my sisters go get selected, and as I'm watching what's going on in the back, But this lady who was sitting in the back, I didn't know who she was, so I was afraid if I go, she won't let me out. But anyway, then I see one of the survivors who was helping in the food department. She goes out, and I knew her, and she lets her out. So I quickly chased to the back of the barrack. And then the woman who was guarding the back door, okay, because we're not supposed to go out through the back, she says, where are you going? You're supposed to go to the front to get selected to work. Excuse me. So I said, my mother just walked out. I want to go with her. How this came to my brain to say that, I don't know. So anyway, she let me out. My sisters held the place, a line for me in the front. This is how I got out of Auschwitz Birkenau. You had to have a lot of guts, and you have to do what you have to do, okay? So here we are 4 months in Auschwitz Birkenau, Camp C. So they sent us to camp in Freudenthal, okay? We were 300 women. I was assigned to work on masks. Things we wear today, can you believe that? Who would ever think that you'd have to wear a mask again, right? I had to sit on a high chair, pick up a mask, put it on my face, put it on 12 hours every day. So here we are, we're working, and they're always telling us if we don't do good jobs, they're going to send us back to Auschwitz-Birkenau. So of course we tried our best. So this is going on for 8 months or so. We had 2 buildings in our place, and 2-story buildings, 300 women. And they would always walk us to the factory. They would come and get us and walk us to the factory, okay? So nobody's coming, and it must have been May 7th or 6th. I'm really not sure what day it was, but it was almost on the end of the war. And so we were not supposed to leave the building. And I said to my sisters, I'm going outside. I want to see what's going on. And everybody said, you can't go. You're not supposed to leave the building. I said, I don't care what it is. I want to go out. I go out, and I see the gate wide open, and there's nobody there. So I was screaming to all the women. I said, the gate is open, everybody's gone. And there's planes going over us, and we can hear the Russian language. It was unbelievable. So I figured if I go to meet the Russian soldiers the way I am, with hair probably the same length as I have now, regular clothes, they would think I'm German, and they would shoot me. So I decided to tear a piece of a dress, of my dress off, and I found a stick, and I put it on the stick, and I went like this in front of the Russians, which means freedom, okay? So I went into the back of the building where the cornfields were. The Russians were there, and they hugged me and kissed me, and they came and liberated us. The Russians were very good to us, okay? So finally, we all came back to normal, so we decided to go on the train. So we were going to the train station. It took 3 days or 4 days to get on the train, because there's so many people coming and going. And in those days, trains did not run like today, I remember that. So it took us about 4 weeks to get home. From my village, we had maybe 600 people that lived in my village. When I came home, I think maybe there were 12 or 15 people. And when we came home, we went to the house, my house, okay? It was not livable. The roof was gone. The SS soldiers kept their horses in our house. So it was completely empty. All the Jewish homes are completely empty because a lot of the non-Jewish people actually moved into the Jewish homes. Our home, the SS kept their horses in there. So the first thing we did, we went in the house, it was empty, and then of course we found a stool someplace, and we found the little shoe polish box with the jewelry, and then we divided the jewelry between the 3 of us. And I ended up with this chain, which I said before, I wear this every day. Right after I get out of my bed, it goes on my neck. This way, I think this is how I'm surviving, by knowing my father is with me, okay? Hardly anybody came home. So we stayed another couple of weeks, and then we went to the train station, which is not in my village, but it's in Ungvar, the same place where we were taken away to Auschwitz from, the same train station, okay? We did have a train station in my village, but somehow it never worked good, so we couldn't use it. So we went there, and we were waiting at the train station for 3 days to get on the train, because in those days, trains didn't run too often. And my sister Judy says, I'm going back to Seredne. One of the boys came back from the war. One of the Jewish boys came back, and he got his house back, and he asked me, he wants to marry me, okay? And he says, and my sister Judy says, I've been here 3 days, I'm not staying another day. So my sister Judy left back home to my hometown, and she got married. And I never saw my sister Judy again, because I stayed on the train station another 6 or 8 hours, and I got on a train finally. So I went to Prague, I stayed with my sister, my sister Helen. She was living in Tibor's apartment, okay? So we were there for 10 days, and my sister Helen said, there's a gentleman by the name of Seredne Montefiore who is looking for 1,000 Holocaust survivor children under age 16 to take to England for rehabilitation, okay? So my sister Helen said it would be a good idea if I sign you up for this program. I said, I think I would love to do that, okay? So she signed me up. I stayed in Prague till February 12, 1946. I was in the last transport because my sister lived in Prague, and I said, there's no rush for me to go. So they found 732 kids, and there were hostels all over England, Scotland, Ireland, wherever, okay, wherever they could find places. So I was in Scotland for about 8 months in the hostel, and the hostel was emptying out because a lot of kids are finding relatives in America, Australia, New Zealand. You know, we're all orphans, remember. None of us had parents or relatives left. So we were in Scotland for 8 months. After 8 months, the hostel was emptying out, so 12 of us left. So we went to Bedford, which was not far from London, 60 kilometers from London. And there was a hostel there. It was mostly all boys, okay? And then they introduced us to those boys. We were 12 of us from Scotland, okay? 12. So they introduced us, and there was this young man standing in the back row. I said, that's the man I'm going to marry. And guess what? I did. See this? I'm going to hold this straight. Okay. So I met him. Of course, he already had a girlfriend. You know, all these boys in the hostel, the non-Jewish girls came from the town. They liked, it was Bedford, England. They liked the Jewish boy. They know what's good, okay? So, of course, it took me a while, but after a while, I got him. We started dating. In 1948, we got engaged. In 1950, we got married. So, and then my husband is corresponding with the relatives in the United States, and they're offering us papers to come to America. So we came to the United States in 1951 to New York, and Max's family met us. They were wonderful people, and I'm still so thankful that they did this for us, okay? So we came to New York. We lived in New York for 5 years, and then after 5 years, we decided to come to San Diego. This is a wonderful place to be, by the way, okay? We have 4 children. We have 9 grandchildren, 1 great-grandchild, and we are so thankful to this country for letting us come to make a life for ourselves, okay? There is no other country like America. Here, everybody has the opportunity to become what they want. All they have to do is go after it, okay? Remember that.